I will say, like, I always thought it was funny if I was watching like my morning shows before school, and
Mm-hmm.
like the last episode of a season would finish, and then a new episode would start for a new season, but it was like a completely different season that is nowhere near what you were watching before. I'm like, who makes these decisions?
End of season 1, beginning of season 4. When these dads meet world, watching Boy Meets World. We grew up on the show, now we have kids, and host a podcast. We watch each episode and then share our thoughts and grades. When these dads meet world.
Like, watch her take the roles.
Welcome back to Dad's Meet World, that groovy, love-filled series of podcast episodes that dives into Boy Meets World from the perspective of two dads. I am dad number 1 this week, Brett, joined on the microphone by dad number 2.
I am Tyler, dad number 2, the pooper scooper.
That's right, Pooper Scooper himself is back. And Tyler, Kelly likes the theme song, but she thinks I'm a little flat in a couple places. She thinks I should re-record it with some auto-tune.
Maybe she'd like to also sing with you, and then that'll help out as well.
Maybe. So how are things going for you, Tyler?
Oh, it's going okay. We've just the youngest just the amount of times I've wiped boogers off of his face today is just ridiculous. Like, he's just been a faucet. And for all the good-looking people out there that are not parents, what you need to understand is that they don't stop ever not having like the running nose. Like, it's just is a thing. So when it's happening, it's nonstop, and you're just like, just stop this already. What really stinks is as they get older, and they'll like slowly have stuff going, but then they'll like snort it up just enough, and then you're just like, oh my gosh, boogers is just always a thing with children. It's always going to be a problem. Like, the older one also had some boogie issues, and at one point he was wiping nose, and my wife goes, hey, did you just wipe your nose, or did you actually, like, blow in? No, I just wiped. So, it's life. Life is boogies. I will say that I got some stuff hung up today at the house, and so I'm trying to make it a little homier, a little more organized, and especially like in the boys' room, we hung up a bunch of stuff, like a poster, a couple of signs, and a Seawolves flag. So
Nice.
their room's looking pretty nice now. I'm really excited. So
Very nice. Did they get into the otters?
we have not done anything with the otters yet. Grayson went to 3 Seawolf games this past season, and then they won the championship. So clearly next year he's got to go to more.
Oh, clearly.
Yes. No, I think at some point we'll have to go to the otters game. We may have to look into that for around Christmas time as an extra gift or something. Who knows?
I had a friend who was at the otters game last night. That's what made me think of it.
I saw someone today who was at an otters game.
Yeah.
What's up with you, man?
It's good to hear that things are going a little more active this week for you, even though it's more snot-filled. Good-looking people, if this is your first episode, we're not usually this off the cuff with boogers, but we are this off the cuff, period.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will tell you real quick that I was hanging stuff up in my office, making that look all cool as well. So I was kind of in the zone of like organizing and, hanging things, making a room look nice. So
nice. Yeah, things are good here. We've got Abby's out of town in Chicago on a marching band trip. They marched in the Magical Mile Christmas parade. They were actually the second to last unit in the parade. They marched directly in front of Santa. So they were the band bringing Santa to town for Chicago. So that's pretty cool.
Santa Claus coming to town.
Yeah, and so that was pretty cool to hear about. Although Abby herself didn't quite catch that aspect of it. I think we'll have to explain that a little bit to her when she gets home, or via text. She was thinking, step offs at like 5:30. Why are we waiting? Why did they invite us all the way out here if they're sticking us at the end? So it's like, no. This is one of those parades where it built up to the end, not peters out at the end.
Yeah.
Holiday parades are different than 4th of July and Memorial Day parades. Yeah.
So, real quick, I know you and I need to talk about Christmas movies at some point, but Sarah informed me that she watched Last Christmas a few days ago, apparently. Mm-hmm. Which, good looking people, if you've not seen Last Christmas, I recommend, if you like Emilia Clarke and you like a complicated story. But, for lack of better wording, there is some sadness towards the end. And because it's a little more of an actual chick flick, not so much a rom-com. And I looked at my wife and I said, why did you even watch that movie? She goes, well, I know it's sat in the theaters, but I thought, I like this movie, I want to watch it. She goes, and I was just bawling. And I'm like, that's a poor choice for you right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So,
Christmas movies.
Christmas movies. It's that time of year. Give us a couple more days here in our house, and we'll allow the Christmas movies out. Not before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Once this episode has dropped, Christmas movies will be out. We'll be hanging decorations the day this is dropped. So.
Yeah. I mean, you have twinkly lights behind you.
Yeah, but those are left over from Halloween.
I'm just saying, you got twinkly lights already.
They are twinkly. They're orange though.
I
still have a skeleton.
I hung my flag in my office this week, and people were asking me, "Were you in the military?" And I said, "No, but I have a good story behind that." And good-looking people, if you want to know more, you'll have to tune in at a different time and ask me about it.
All right.
So I'm not sharing that right now because we need to get to that synopsis, Brett.
We do need to get that synopsis. I still have my flag as well. It just doesn't hang up in here. I got to find a good space for it. Probably the man cave. Anyway, we're going to look at episode 14 of season 3 this week. A Kiss is More Than a Kiss. Now, in this episode, at Sean's urging, Cory re-enters the dating world, but he cannot bring himself to kiss his date, Melissa, because he's still in love with Topanga. But she's too busy locking lips with another guy. This episode was written by Michael Swerdlick. This is the only Boy Meets World episode credited to him. He also wrote for Doogie Howser, Who's the Boss, Beverly Hills 90210, and others. It's directed by John Tracy, the last time that he'll direct an episode of Boy Meets World. And we did find out last week that he directed 13 episodes of Step by Step.
Step by step, day by day.
Yes. And it originally premiered on January 26, 1996.
Day by day.
Currently has an IMDb rating of 7.9.
Vast
and
emotional
good-looking
damage.
people, it is time for everyone's favorite game show. Vast Emotional Damage, where we like to have Tyler see if he can guess accurately just how many million viewers tuned in the first time this show premiered. So Tyler, this episode, our previous episode, premiered with 17.6 million viewers. How many million viewers do you think A Kiss is More Than a Kiss debuted to?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first week of February?
This is the last week of January.
Last week of January. See, that's part of the it's complicated, man.
Yes, we're not quite
Sometimes
into
around this
February
time.
sweeps yet. No stunt casting or anything.
No, 90s. I'm gonna go with the number that I originally thought of the moment we brought this up. Let's go with 15.
What are we going with?
15 mil.
15 mil? We actually experienced a bump up to 18.7 million. Yeah.
Wow. I did not
Apparently,
expect that.
I don't remember the marketing, but I'm guessing in some of the marketing they probably promoted that there was some Cory Topanga drama.
Probably.
Yeah. So let's get into it then.
Let's do
We're
it.
gonna start. Yeah, we're going to start off with Cory and Topanga talking in the hallway. Sean's a little bit concerned that they're all friendly.
Do you have any of this interaction clip, by the way?
Not of the Cory Topanga stuff, but the Cory and Sean afterwards, yes.
Let's just get to that.
All right. So, yes, afterwards, yeah. I'll circle back to Cory and Topanga, but let's get to Cory and Sean.
Sean, are you crying?
I think I lost you, man.
I said I'd do this fashion fest thing when we were still going out. I mean, I can't bail on her.
Yeah, you can't. You've got to move on.
Oh, quit your crying. I'm just a guy in a tux, walking down an aisle with his ex-girlfriend in a gown in front of the entire school. And you think I haven't moved on?
Okay, Cory. If you're really over her, then you're ready to date other girls.
Well, I should say so.
So you'd be up for a little double date action?
Yes, but what will you do, Sean?
Oh, now this is the Cory I've always hoped for. Hey, Katie, Melissa, you guys want to go out with me and Cory tonight?
Sure, that'd be great.
All right, Cory. We just got ourselves a double date. What do you say?
You go.
And I will say, what I wanted to bring up was the fact that Sean came up and was like, "You and Topanga aren't a couple anymore." And he goes, "Yeah, I know. My point exactly." Then we agree. No, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yes.
Just the conviction and annoyance he has right now for his best friend.
He does. Sean sees that Cory and Topanga are apart, and Sean sees that they really haven't done a whole lot to distance themselves.
No.
And Topanga is still like giving Cory kisses on the cheek, which, and we'll come back to that later, but this is clearly going to be an issue for Cory, hence the title. But like in Cory's brain, they're not really broken up. And Sean can see, Sean senses this.
No, I agree. Is that he, in Cory's understanding of the world, he and Topanga are still basically together, even if they're not quote unquote together anymore. Mm-hmm. Like multiple times, he refers to Topanga as his woman, and Sean's just trying to say to him, like, no, she's not. She was, now she's not.
Yep.
And I mean, it sucks for Cory, but you know, he and her made the choice to break up. Stop acting like a couple.
Yeah, and I mean, and we'll get, we'll see this throughout the episode, but spoiler alert, Sean honestly is right. Mm-hmm. There needs to be a seismic shift here.
Let's clear that up, Rick. He's right about one thing, and that's it.
He's right about one thing, and a seismic shift does need to happen in one way. We'll get to that, but yeah, we're gonna get Cory and Topanga. Are supposed to take part in this fall fashion or this prom fashion show where people will come, they'll get a look at the prom attire, they can then rent it or purchase it from dealers in the area and whatnot. And Sean has a problem with that, Cory doesn't. But then we have this interaction that we just played, and I love Sean's excitement at the Cory he's always dreamed of.
Oh, but what will you do, Sean?
I love this interaction. I was watching this last night and I was just laughing out loud. There's a few times in this episode where I was just doubled over laughing. And the girls are going to take out. let's give a little bit of information on that. Melissa is Andy McAfee, and her name should sound a little bit familiar to longtime listeners of Dad's Meet World, because this is the second of 2 appearances. She was first way back in season 2, episode 14, I Am Not a Crook. So if you really want her bio, you can go back and listen to that episode, because I didn't bring it back.
I am not a crook.
Yes. And
Sorry,
Katie,
I didn't hear that. What character did she play beforehand?
I didn't even, they didn't really even give her a name that I remember. She was one of the girls that was in the crowd when they were going back and forth, when they brought out the girl that Sean said was icky.
Oh, yes.
She was the other girl that actually had a speaking part in that crowd.
Gotcha.
But I don't remember them even giving her a name.
Oh, you're fine.
And then Katie, Sean's date, is Adina Pinella, or Pinea. I'm not sure. That could be either way. It's first and only time we'll see her on Boy Meets World. And Boy Meets World is actually her only credited role in Hollywood. We won't ever see her again in any other role. So
I wonder if she had like a family member like attached to this episode or the show, because that's really weird.
Very possible.
I mean, she only really says a couple of lines and mostly just makes out with Sean this episode, so...
Yeah, I mean, she... it's possible she had someone on the crew and just happened to... Yeah.
Ryder Strong's current girlfriend?
That's very possible. Yeah. Well, anyway... And initially, when I was writing my notes down, I wondered how long after the breakup this was. I was figuring at least 2 weeks, and Cory actually confirmed that later on. But so the guys are going to have this double date. We go out from the act break. We gonna come back. Eric is out in the backyard.
Yeah.
And he's sneaking a letter from college. And it's just heartbreaking for Mr. Feeney to hear, because it's a rejection letter.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a tough one.
Feeney knows that Eric's going to get rejected from a lot of places, but, like, you get the feeling that, like, just hearing a little excitement to just straight up just sadness just kind of breaks him, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, because he knows Eric wants to go to college. Eric just only put in the effort this year. So,
yeah.
And I have to say, Brett, as someone who is a Penn State person, Penn State person as in I live in Pennsylvania, and if I have to choose a football team for college, it's Penn State. You know, the actual Penn State campus is a hard school to get into. Oh yes. It's not Ivy Leagues, but like it's one that people have to work to get into. Mm-hmm. I think there's a handful of people I know that applied to main campus and didn't get in, but then applied to the smaller schools around us. Mm-hmm. And that's how they got to eventually transfer to the big campus. Yep. But yeah, you know, even a state school can be a hard school to get into.
Oh yes. Yes. State schools are they're just not, in a lot of ways, they're not as hard as an Ivy League, but in other ways, just the sheer volume of people trying to get into a state school is a massive hurdle. And you bring up branch campuses. Most state schools have at least a few branch campuses. Kelly actually worked for a Penn State branch campus just out of college, and that's kind of your way into it. And so for Penn State, for Eric, I'm going to say in the Boy Meets World universe, for Eric to even get a rejection letter from Penn State, period, not even check out one of our branch campus as an option, that's just huge. That's just backbreaking.
I mean, but again, that is part of the writers writing make sense of and the state of mind that Eric is in, because what's always bothered me is the amount of places he applied to and the amount of rejection letters he got, because I mean, I looked it up. You still had to pay a fee in the 90s. So, like, how many applications and how many fees is he paying these schools to send out these applications for? And these applications take time. So it's like, how much time and energy is he giving to send out all of the amount of places that he is applying to?
Mm-hmm.
So, I know, that's TV magic. I get that. But also, someone who lives, say, in California might not realize that Penn State is a hard school to get into.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also aware that there's a lot more bigger name schools in, say, the California state compared to in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also part of the problem. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
a gooba's got a gooba.
So you are calling
A gooba.
or are you calling the joke comes first?
Oh, it's always the joke comes first, Brett. You know that.
Anyway, Eric realizes he's been found out by Mr. Feeney, tries to pass it off that his parents are taking their rejection so hard, not him. And I found myself wondering, has he really received 30 or 40 rejection letters, or does it just feel that way to him? And he kind of fishes for a pep talk without really fishing for a pep talk. And I just clipped the audio for Mr. Feeney's pep talk because it's just very brief, but it left a mark for him.
Well, that no one likes rejection, but if you keep applying and keep trying, you and the right college will find each other.
It's very simple. I mean, it's not necessarily deep, but it's something that kept motivating Eric.
Yeah.
And then we see...
Well, I was just going to say, like, I mean, I know because we've watched the show before, eventually Eric will get to go to college, but it's in this struggle that he has that sets him on the path eventually that he needs to go through to get to school. And I think we need to start being much more willing to be open to the different ways of getting into school, other than just, you graduate high school, you immediately go to college.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, but go ahead and continue.
Well, then we're going to go into the kitchen where Cory is sucking on a lemon because they're out of breath mints. So it's not a date, and we get a little surprise for us viewers here.
You know, why can't you guys learn from Morgan? She is a great sister. I mean, she stays in her room, you don't hear from her, you don't see her, and best of all, she stays out of my personal life.
So, rumor upstairs is you got a date.
Morgan, long time no see.
Yeah, that was the longest time out I've ever had.
So who's the unlucky girl?
Well, if you must know, her name is Melissa, okay? And we're just seeing a movie.
With that thing on your nose?
What thing?
It's too easy.
Mom!
Come on, Morgan, let's go watch TV in the other room.
TV's not funny. Cory's life is funny.
We get Morgan back.
Yay.
Oh, yes. And for completionist's sake, this is Lindsay Ridgway stepping into the role, coming from some voice acting in Sonic the Hedgehog, a guest spot on Star Trek Voyager. She goes on to do a little more voice acting. Really, outside of Boy Meets World, has not done a lot in Hollywood outside of the Boy Meets World universe. And so Eric decides to give Cory a pep talk about jumping back in the dating pool.
Yeah,
and
I like how Mom's like, yeah, he needs to talk to Eric. Morgan's like, Cory talks to Eric.
Cory talks to Sean. When does Cory talk to me?
Mom and Dad. Cory talks to Mr. Feeney. When's Cory gonna talk to Morgan?
Yeah. But Eric gives some solid advice. Don't talk about your old girlfriend. And then the most important advice is interrupted by a phone call, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Classic TV
And then we
trope.
wind. Oh, yes. Yes. And then we wind up at Chubby's. We find out Cory was in a completely separate theater from the other three, watching a completely different movie. And when Sean and his date come up for air and the girls leave, Sean has a wonderful question for him.
Hi, I'm on a date. What are you on?
Because Cory's actually on the lecture circuit. Cory is old man Cory. He's just... This is not date Cory. In The Office, you've got date Mike. This is the opposite of date Mike.
I will say that Sean's understanding of what a date is quite concerning to me as a father and as an adult.
Yes, I had that same thought, that it's not a date until you've kissed.
Yeah, unless you kiss, it's not a date. And it's like, but it is a date.
Like I've been on many dates that didn't involve kissing.
Right.
It's perfectly possible and perfectly natural to go on a date that doesn't end in a kiss or doesn't involve kissing.
Yeah.
Oh, but according to Sean, it's the reason we got out of the trees, man.
Yes. I'm really curious about what his understanding of human evolution and, what his creation story is.
Yeah, but he puts that ticking clock on Cory for this. You've got to finish this date by the end of the night. You've got to kiss her by the end of the night. You've got to actually have this date happen by the end of the night. Which also brings to mind, if Sean went on 6 dates over the course of a weekend just a couple of episodes ago, Sean's making out with like 6 different girls over the course of a weekend just a couple of episodes ago.
Here's my now question. Does Sean consider it a date if he meets a girl, makes out with her, and then walks away from her? Is that a date?
That's a very good question.
Because I could see Sean, oh my gosh, considering a date if he's at Chubby's and in, say, the course of 5 hours makes out with 2 different girls and says, well, I had 2 dates today. Like, gosh, I'm going to sound like such an old man. You do not have to kiss someone in order for it to be considered a date. That's just, you don't have to. If you like someone and you want to kiss them, that's one thing. But you can also like someone and decide, I'm not ready to kiss that person. That's also okay. You never have to do anything you don't want to do, and you can't force anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. And the truth is, especially in this situation, Cory is not ready to kiss another girl. Like, we can count on our hand how many girls Cory has kissed at this point, and it's understandable that he'd be uncomfortable because the girl he spent most of his time kissing, both as friends kissing and as in a relationship, is Topanga.
Mm-hmm.
So it's understandable for him that he's not ready to kiss another girl, especially so quickly. So, yeah. I don't know. Sean's dating advice is quite annoying and frustrating. Hi, do you need attention now?
Indeed. Well, let's check in with Cory at the end of his date then.
Yes.
Because he and Melissa, they're on the front porch, and we find out Melissa wants Cory to kiss her at the end of the night. But Cory's not sure if he wants to kiss her. And we kind of leave that, we leave on that shot of Cory, we leave it ambiguous, because the next thing we know, we're walking around the cafeteria with Eric, who's been accepted to Boris College.
You know, BC, Boris College.
Yeah, BC, Boris. And, of course, the table that consists of Mr. Turner, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Feeney are immediately suspicious at best of Boris College. It doesn't even sound like a real college. And, we're going to have some... We'll come back to them later, but Sean can look at Cory's face, his unkissed face, and see that Cory only shook Melissa's hand.
Yeah, that's possible.
And as he's in the midst of explaining to Cory that this is just so wrong and completely just against the laws of nature, Melissa comes up to Cory and is letting him know how appreciative she is that he's different from other boys, that any other boy would just have gone in for the kiss, but Cory didn't. And Sean is just flabbergasted.
Everything I've ever believed is wrong.
He has to try this shaking hands. And so, Sean's date from the other night comes in, Katie, and he wants to shake her hand, which is really just a prelude to a kiss, and Cory's a genius, of course. And so...
Yes. So now, are they on a date in the school?
According to Sean's definition, we might need to say so.
I wasn't thinking about this beforehand, but this is just rattling in my brain of just Sean's understanding of dating, and I'm very troubled.
Yes. Maybe we can expand it out a little bit. Maybe give Sean a little bit of grace that it does have to be a meeting, a formal meeting that involves kissing of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not just a happenstance meeting and it's just the kissing. Let's expand it a little bit to an actual meeting that does involve kissing of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's give Sean a little bit of grace there.
Why?
Because we like Sean.
I know, but I don't like him this episode. Okay, so
Well,
I do
anyway.
have to comment on Boris, because when Boris plays Notre Dame, he's going to get him and Feeney on the 50-yard line.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
love that Eli immediately says, I'll take Notre Dame by 60. So, two things. A, that's funny because Notre Dame always packs their schedule with a bunch of weak competition because they're an independent team. I don't understand how that works, but that's how it works. And so they literally always have a really good record for the most part because their team is their schedule is probably the weakest schedule in all of the NCAA.
Oh,
Just
yes.
saying. Second, Feeney didn't go to Notre Dame. Apparently he went to Harvard. He's from Boston. So he would have no interest in Notre Dame. In fact, there's a chance that Notre Dame plays Boston or Harvard.
A chance.
Yeah. So it's just
Harvard's not exactly known for their athletics.
correct. They're very much not known for their athletics.
Name one Harvard football player aside from Fitzpatrick.
I was gonna say that's about it.
That's all I can think of off the top of my
I will
head.
say when I used to play NCAA football, I always would schedule like an Ivy League school every now and then just so I could play one of them and crush them and feel better about myself. Yes. But I will say I feel bad because Eric does talk to a girl about how excited he is about this, and she's excited for him, and the only time we ever see this girl, this Kristen. But
Yeah.
you feel the concern if they don't go to college of what their life is going to be like. And it does break my heart.
It does. Yeah. But
hey, mi amigo. All you did was shake her hand. I like how we don't see any of the date. We just literally get back to that porch, though.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, what are we doing? We're here, at the door.
Yep. We're here
at the
again.
step.
At the door, a step, a doorstep, He's like, he's doing he's pulling out a comedy routine.
It's like, yeah, you've said that 3 times now. I mean, window. What's up with that?
What's the deal with hairline peanuts? So anyway,
I like how she's just trying to say again, like, why don't you just kiss me?
Kiss me.
Doesn't have a response.
And instead, he wants to meet her parents. Yes. Everybody decent? And then he goes and finds Sean at Chubby's, who's shooting
parents?
some pool.
How do you do that? No, the bigger question is, why haven't you kissed her?
And it's at this point that Cory confesses that he's not over Topanga. He finally says it out loud. And Sean is like, everybody knows it. And they turn around, including the guy who she's making out with. Everyone knows it.
Question. Did we ever have a scene of Cory and Topanga making out at Chubby's?
Not to my knowledge. And this is where I jotted in my notes that Topanga and this guy are going at it in a very public space, and it feels very out of character for what we've seen of her to this point. And it feels like the writers just needed to put her... It needed an excuse for Cory to see her kissing someone.
Yeah, I mean...
But, like, this is not the Topanga that we've seen for 3 seasons. This is not the Topanga that they've crafted.
Correct.
And this is... She says later on, I'm not... Cory has a line later on that, it took us 14 years to kiss the way that you kissed him. And her retort is, I'm not kissing him like I ever kissed you. Like, well, okay. Not from what we've seen on screen. That's a whole lot more involved than what we've seen you kiss him on screen. And so this just feels... It feels so out of place.
Yes. I think it would be more impactful if you would have seen her flirting with that guy the way she was flirting with Cory in that one scene where in the one about how he told her that he loved her. Like, if he saw her, or like like blowing in the guy's ear while he's throwing a dart or whatever, or playing pool, like that would make more of an impact.
Yes.
Because she is directly doing something to another guy that she was doing with him. And it is out of character for her to be making out with someone else.
This is like Sean in one of his dates.
Yeah.
I mean, this is exactly what happened in that booth 2 minutes earlier in real world time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who felt that way.
No, it feels so weird for her to be doing that in such a public place when we never see Cory and Topanga ever making out in any way in any sort of public place. There's innuendo of them finding a place to go do that that's not right in public. So yeah, no, it bothered me. It bothered me a lot. Yeah.
Now, it did lead to one of those moments that had me doubled over laughing.
Pinch me. Not on the butt. Sorry, it's just right there.
I will say, you watch and he just barely moves his hand, and he says that, you're like, oh my gosh, what is their relationship?
Oh man, pinch me, not on the butt.
That's always not going to be funny.
Well, yeah. So Cory wants to get in a fight with this guy and keep him from kissing his woman. And Sean is the good friend here. Sean physically removes him from Chubby's.
Fireman carries him.
Fireman carries him all the way to Turner's. And it's implied that he carries him all the way to Turner's.
Yeah. Again,
And
how close is Turner's to this place?
I'm figuring Turner's is probably not that far, considering the first time Eli came to town, Turner let him know that he comes here a lot. So,
You know what? Let's throw it out, Brett. What if Chubby's is literally either right down the block from him, or what if Chubby's is below his apartment?
you know, I love the idea of Turner living in the same building above Chubby's.
Yeah, me too. Like
I
I love the
that.
idea that it's such a dive that they have a cheap rent above, but on the same token, all the people that live there don't want to eat there.
Yeah, I like it. Let's make it canon.
Let's do it.
Producers can't tell us otherwise. Turner lives above Chubby's.
Yeah. I mean, the pictures look all sorts of different, but who cares? But yeah, Cory is desperately trying to say, that guy's kissing my woman. And Sean's trying to be a good friend, saying, she's not your woman. She's not yours. She's free to go date other people.
Yep. And so are you when you need to.
Now, I mean, again, you and I have talked about this. We don't really agree with the fact that they had to break up, but the fact is they did break up. And you cannot treat someone in the same way if you've broken up. Like, your relationship has changed. It has to change. Right. And if you have such a good friendship that you can kind of go back to being just friends, terrific. Unfortunately, most people cannot. And that's just part of life.
Yeah, and it's very difficult for most people. Some have managed it, but most people, it's just too much of a change.
Yeah.
But Cory is Cory is finally going to go over to Melissa's house and apparently wake her up and just finally going to see if they've got chemistry and kiss her.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
But
so
Cory's not going to have any sparks with any girls. Let's just be real.
yeah. Well, maybe almost no girls.
Yeah, give it 2 seasons. I get it.
They get in that season 5 slump.
Okay, one of my favorite lines is coming up, though. Because Sean says to him, this is when you see Topanga with another guy, and you won't go bonkers. Immediately, Cory sees Topanga and goes, bonkers!
And jumps on Nick's back at school the next day. Chicken fights.
Me and Nick.
And Sean walks away, and it's this point he's just given up. He knows he can't do anything more to help. And we meet Nick, the guy that Topanga's been sucking face and playing tonsil hockey with, and whatever other euphemism you want to use.
Yeah.
Nick is played by Shane West. First and only time we'll see him in Boy Meets World. 50 credited roles to his name. You saw him in California Dreams, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Sliders, Dracula 2000, Ocean's 11. The big things that you might have seen him in are the movies A Walk to Remember and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He was a big heartthrob for a minute. ER, Nikita, and Gotham, and a few more. He was Bane in Gotham.
Oh.
Yes.
I have to look up this guy's IMDb because now I'm curious about a lot of his things, and I don't want to take up too much time going through his stuff.
Yes. He was Tom Sawyer in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh. But, you know what? I'm going to take 2 seconds to say this, Brett. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is actually pretty good, and I don't want to hear otherwise by people. I get it has a bad rap,
but on its standalone merits as a movie, on its standalone merits, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Is it anything like the comics it's based upon? Very little, but you know what? That's okay.
Yeah, it's a fun, random, standalone, like, with random historical characters throughout time, and it's a fun thing.
Mm-hmm. So the new guy leaves with some side eye at the old boyfriend, and we get this conversation between Cory and Topanga.
Cory, I know this is weird for you, but you can't be acting like this. We're not together anymore.
Oh, so that means you can date anyone you want to?
I'm not going to have this conversation.
Fine, then don't have this conversation. I will.
Cory, people are staring at us.
Well, let him stare at us. That didn't seem to bother you last night at Chubby's.
You were there?
Yeah. I mean, how do you think that made me feel?
Cory, I'm sorry you saw that. Well, we both knew we were going to see other people.
I know, but you're not supposed to kiss anybody else.
Cory, I wish I knew what to say. Well, I gotta get to class.
Well, I'm not done talking to you.
Well, I gotta go.
You know, when you were my girlfriend, you would have been 5 minutes late.
Well, I'm not your girlfriend anymore.
Fine. That's the way you want it. I got a better idea. Let's not be friends anymore either.
You don't mean that.
This is just rough for both of them.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we've got Topanga being so completely out of it that she doesn't think for a moment that Cory could possibly be in such a public space as Chubby's, that he would see her making out, and then not being willing to either take time to talk about this very important moment in both of their friendship, or to say, let's talk about this at lunch or after school. And you've got Cory being so driven by his emotions that he's willing to chuck the he's still living in the past, and since he's not getting any traction, he's willing to chuck the whole friendship out the window as well.
I will say that when he brings up Chubby's to her, she immediately looks like she doesn't know how to move forward in the conversation, because
that was some fantastic face acting by Danielle Fishel.
It conveys a sense of guilt, a sense of you're correct, a sense of I've messed up and I immediately realized that I've hurt this person that I care so much about, but also a little shame, because this is not actions that we've seen from Topanga, and there's always a chance that she was guilted into, hey, whatever the boy wants to kiss you, you just gotta kiss him there, you know. And that's not the type of guy that Cory is, but that's the type of guy that, you know, Nick is. So Topanga went along with it because that's what the boy wanted to do. Gosh, I hate sexism.
Yeah.
But anywho, the more important thing is this is really great acting on Danielle Fishel's part, that's for sure.
Yes, it is.
And she brings this character to life in a way that no one else could have done it. Because I will say, in all of the random writers writing random things for her, her details of what makes her, at the end of the day, she is still at the core the same person, regardless of what influences people have over this character. She's still a very strong-willed person and very moral person, and when she messes up, she feels so much weight of that. So, and you can feel that in this moment. So, good job, Daniel. You're amazing.
Good job. Yeah. And so we'll leave them in the hallway there. Some nice blocking there with Cory walking one way and Topanga standing on the other side of the wall there. I love that shot. Eric's at lunch talking with the friend you mentioned earlier, played by Sadie Stratton. She was Kratzig at that moment in time. First and only time we'll see her on Boy Meets World. 38 credited roles to her name on projects such as Teen Knight Rider, Bedazzled, Charmed, 90210, The Protector, Parenthood, Westworld, NCIS, Oppenheimer, and more. But Turner and Eli and Feeney are all confirmed. They've confirmed their suspicions that Boris is not a legitimate college.
Boris?
Really, George? Boris? Someone's got to tell Eric that Boris is not a school. Oh, I know. Why doesn't George do it? So Feeney takes the time to come over to sit with Eric and tell him. And Eric admits he knows that it wasn't. I'm not a brain surgeon. Well, actually, my
Boris
diploma
says I
that they
am.
sent me a couple days after they sent me my acceptance letter says that I am. So, but Eric just, why did you go along with it? Well, it's that sense of belonging that Eric sees everyone else who's getting their college acceptance letters, and it's those letters that he hangs on to. He got the wrong letters on his report cards, and he's getting the wrong letters now.
Yeah.
And so something's kind of stuck with him that he's that we're seeing again. He's realizing, perhaps a bit too late for now, that he put in not enough time earlier to be where he wants to be now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I will say I love that it ends with, you see that kid beside me? This is going to Duke. You want to tell him, or do you want me to? I will say real quick, I did look up Shane West, and when I saw it was Shane West unaccredited in Ocean's 11, I went, oh, he's one of the actors playing poker. And he's the guy that goes, Shane, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm doing this. Like, yes, that makes sense. So, Interesting. Boy Meets World does this quite often of having a random person that hits it, either big or somewhat big. And, just the random roles, so...
Yep. Their casting department had an eye for talent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to Cory. He's hanging out in the kitchen, throwing some old Topanga mementos in the garbage
very
disposal.
Passive-aggressive.
Yes. In the trash compactor that apparently Alan did get around to installing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very passive-aggressive.
A very romantic gift.
Yes, the very romantic gift. I love the screaming.
I love you very much. Yeah, I got a crush on you.
Which brings Alan and Amy into the kitchen, and we finally get an
Alan,
Alan-Amy
for the first
conversation
time.
with Cory. We've been waiting for this. Feels like all season.
Yeah. He must have been on his own grounding.
He must have been. But of course, since we've been waiting so long, I clipped it. So let's dive in.
I mean, 2 weeks after we break up, she ends up kissing another guy. And not just any guy, Dad. Another guy. I mean, I don't want this.
Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't be upset, but you have got to expect that Topanga is going to go out with other guys. And you're going to go out with other girls.
You two are in high school. You're supposed to date around. That's how you find the right person.
I know, but what if Topanga's my right person?
She might be. And going out with other girls might help you find out for sure.
Your mom and I, we broke up, got back together 3 or 4.
Once.
Right, once, before we got married.
And did you guys stay friends?
Well, there were some rocky points, but we were always there for each other.
See, I think that's what brought us back together. I mean, if you really care for each other, you don't just throw away the most important bond you have, your friendship.
So we find out that Alan and Amy broke up once and got back together.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was just going to state that that's probably the best advice that I was always given. Was if you want to have an actual successful relationship, you have to be friends with the person. Mm-hmm. And, I'll just go ahead and say it. When I was thinking about asking Sarah to marry me 5 minutes after we started dating, at one point I was having a conversation with my dad. And I was like, hey, gosh, maybe I said this before. I can't remember, but I was like, hey, why do you love Mom? And the first thing he said was, well, she's an amazing wife. And then, because it's just his first take, and then he goes, well, Ty, she's my best friend. Because it's the person I want to talk to, she's the person I want to share things with, and she's the person I want to be around. So, she's just the person I always want to be near and by and do everything with. So, and I mean, it comes down to if this person is your friend, it means something. Because eventually all of us get uglier and get older and get weirder, get a little wiser, but eventually we're not always going to look this pretty. So you gotta like someone for more than just their looks.
Speak for yourself. I age like fine wine.
Yeah, you didn't have that gray in your beard when I met you there, sir.
It's distinguished.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Silver
let's just do
fox,
this real
my
quick, Brett.
friend.
I know why I'm growing out my beard. Why are you growing out your beard?
Just too lazy to trim it these days.
I mean, I would say you're going for
Anyway.
your Ben Roethlisberger or Heath Miller look, but my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
It's looking raggedy.
I'm just too lazy to trim it these days. Yeah. It is. It's getting bushy. Kelly was commenting on it the other day that it's getting bushy. I probably do need to trim it.
After hunting
But,
season,
I mean, that's
this thing's
fantastic.
gone.
Yeah, it's fantastic advice that your dad gave you, and that Alan and Amy are giving Cory. That honestly, that friendship is what needs to be the basis. And if Cory's willing to throw away this friendship with Topanga, there's not going to ever be anything there.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go to this prom fashion show that Turner's filling in for.
Yeah, he makes it very clear. He's filling in. But before we get there, Brett, he says it took us 14 years for you to do what you did with him, what you did with me. So this is the first time we're hearing of Cory reimagining, re-idealizing their whole love journey. Of it being their whole life of them being meant for each other, destined for one another. So,
Yes,
it's
this
not
is
out
the
of
first
nowhere.
major rewriting.
Yeah, it's true.
It is. But he shows up. He shows up late, but he shows up after we get a little bit of Turner encouragement that he won't let you down. And Topanga is ready to throw in the towel and admit defeat. But they finally have the conversation that they needed to have when they broke up.
Yeah.
They finally have it out where their feelings are at the surface and they express them to each other. I'm supposed to see other people. You're supposed to wait till I die. Topanga offers to jump on another girl's back when Cory kisses her. She tells him that when he was willing to throw away their friendship, that hurt her as much as him seeing her kiss another girl did, or him seeing her kiss another guy did. I'm getting all these things jumbled up in my head.
It's. I mean, this is a hot mess of an episode.
It is a hot mess of a conversation, but it's a conversation that they needed to have, and it took too long, but they finally had it. And so, but at the end, Cory wants to be Topanga's friend, and he tells her on the runway that he'll never not be there for her. And so we get to end their story for the episode there on that marker of their friendship is going to be rebuilt, is going to stick.
No, I mean, this is the conversation they needed, just like you said, and they need to communicate, and they have to be friends. Like they have to be more than just the boyfriend girlfriend, and this is ultimately the reason that she didn't want to date him beforehand too, was because she feared, if we broke up, would you still be my friend? Yep.
Yeah, a little bit of prophecy there. And so we go to the tag. Yes. We go to the tag. Morgan and Eric are at the kitchen table. Morgan's filling out college applications because, if Eric can get in, anyone can. And it's time to go bother Cory. And so, but there's one thing in the tag that I wanted us to see.
I thought perhaps this might be of help to you.
What's this?
Read it.
A letter of recommendation for Eric Matthews? Exceptional character, enormous potential. Someone I'd bet on. Mr. Feeney, I can't speak.
I meant every word.
No, you see, I just sealed 500 envelopes.
I wish they hadn't gone with the joke.
Me too.
I wish they would have ended it more poignantly. But I love the letter that Mr. Feeney gives to Eric, completely unprompted. Just those few brief snippets. Exceptional character. Someone I'd bet on. And this coming from someone in Mr. Feeney's position, and this coming from him unprompted, is just speaks volumes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, we've talked about this before, that to get an actual recommendation letter from a professor or from a teacher / a principal should not be that difficult. But the fact is that Feeney's seeing his determination in a way that he didn't see it before. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what gives Feeney the encouragement to put his neck out a little bit. Not to say that he's a great student, not to say that he's going to be your top student, but just to say if you want someone who is a good person and is going to try their absolute hardest, this is someone I believe in.
Yep.
So, no, I agree with you. I wish that they hadn't ended it with the joke of all the letters, because again, if it's 500 letters, which I don't think it was, as that was listed, but regardless, 25, even if it's just $25 a pop, which I think it was more, that's still so much money that he doesn't have.
Because he doesn't have a job.
Yeah. I mean, if they really wanted to, they could just have him apply and try to be on the rowing team, and I mean, that's the way that you do it nowadays.
Yep. Find an open spot. He can play lacrosse.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's our episode of Boy Meets World, which means that it's time for...
People. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
All right, so let's start with Penn State campuses, Brett.
We are Penn State.
I'm just going to go alphabetically. I may not get the right name right, but doesn't matter. So, Abington. Do you want to know what that's near, Brett? Philadelphia. Yeah. Altoona. Beaver. I'm assuming that's the one that Kelly was working at. Barron. Yep. I know that one pretty well. Berks. Brandywine. Charlize. DuBois. Fayette. The Burley campus. Great Valley. Greater Allegheny. Harrisburg. Hazleton. Hershey. Lehigh Valley. Mount Alto. New Kingston. Schuylkill in the eastern central Pennsylvania. Scranton. Shenango. And University Park. Wilkes-Barre. Williamsport. There's also apparently World campuses. And York. So, Brett, there is not really a big excuse for why Eric did not apply for any of these specific Penn States, is what I'm going to state. Because if
maybe
he had,
those are all among the 500 letters he stuffed.
Maybe. But, again, Penn State itself, the main campus, is a tough one to get into. was never going to apply to it because I assumed I wasn't going to get admitted. So, Cory asked the question, Windows, what's up with that? So, let's talk about Windows for a moment, Brett. A window is an opening in a wall, door, roof, or vehicle that allows the exchange of light that may also allow the person of sound and sometimes air. Modern windows usually glazed and or covered in some other transparent or translucent material. A sash set in a frame in the opening, and the sash and frame are also referred to as a window. Oh, in addition to this, many modern windows may have a window screen or mesh, often made of aluminum or fiberglass, to keep bugs out, but the window open. In the 13th century BC, the earliest windows were unglassed openings in a roof to admit light during the day, and later windows were covered with animal hide, cloth, and woods. Shutters that could be opened and closed came next. Over time, windows were built that both protected the inhabitants from the elements and transmit light using multiple shape pieces of translucent materials, such as flattened pieces of translucent animal horn, paper sheets, with thin slice of marble or glass. Yeah, so what's the deal with Windows? So, let's talk chicken fights, Brett. Chicken fights, or also known as camel fights, also known as shoulder wars, is an informal game often played in a lake or swimming pool, characterized by one team member sitting on top of the shoulders of his or her teammate, or piggyback riding. The object of the game is to knock down or separate an opposing team through team effort. The person on top is considered to be the attacker, while the person below is considered to be the vehicle. The person below may not use his arm or hands, but must rely on momentum to attack. But running into the other team, the person on his or her shoulders is the attacker and may use any means possible to separate the other team mate from knocking them over. If the team is separate or knocked away in any way, they are required to resign from the game, and last team remain together is considered the winner. Similarly, the name is called in Japan, I'm going to butcher this, but let's give it a shot, Kibasan, which translates to cavalry fight. So, there you go.
Okay.
Bonkers, Brett. Informal, very fond, enthusiastic, excited. Informal also, very angry, annoyed, or bothered. Another version is surprisingly or shocking. Going beyond what is normal or conventional in a way that is fun, impressive, or exciting. Let's see. Let's talk about the psychology of trying to be friend with an ex, Brett. Something you need to ask about yourself after you break up with someone and considering them to be friend or not is, what do you value about your friendship with your ex? It's kind of the question that Alan and Amy were asking. Do you value this friendship, and what is worth saving and what is worth being a friend over? If you can't figure that out, then maybe you shouldn't be friends. But if you can, be friends. But is there something about security, or is there something practical or civil or unresolved romantic desires? Or are there things that are going to get in the way? How long has it been since the breakup? Now, Brett, I don't know about you, but sometimes after you are no longer with someone immediately, it's kind of hard to be friends with that person. But hey, if you've broken up with someone, it's been a while, including years, maybe it's actually not that hard to be friends with somebody. Something for us all to think about. I know for me, I tried to be friends with one of my ex-girlfriends pretty quickly after dating, and that was horrible. And Brett had to deal with some of that.
Yep.
So yeah, it doesn't always go the way you want it to, but that doesn't mean that all the people are bad. What will this friendship mean for your future romantic relationships? You know, that is a huge one, Brett, that people have to consider. Is this friendship that you're in more important than a future relationship, and what that could possibly do to it? So those are things to consider if you want to try to be friends with your ex. Oh, this is what I wanted to get to. Big thing, Brett, is college scams. So another one is financial service scams. So this is one where they will call saying, yes, we want to send you to a specific school, but we need to get some more information for you and pay an upfront fee in order for you to get additional funding. The unpaid tuition scam is basically scammers calling, saying that they're from your school, saying that you won't be able to go to classes anymore unless you pay. Online income scam. Scammers prey on college students, promising them a job online and ways for them to make quick and easy money. Buying books online scam. Scam artists set up fake websites and get great deals on expensive textbooks, only to never deliver the textbooks. Basically, for whatever little money college students may have, there are people out there that are willing to take that money. Mm-hmm. Now, Brett, we're talking about exes right now, right?
Yes.
And I would be remiss right now if I didn't talk about something in particular. Now, I want you to guess the person that I'm talking about. I'm going to name the exes and potentially something that they created using said exes in their relationships. And I want you to guess the person that I'm referring to.
Okay.
So, Joe Jonas. This person wrote a song about their relationship, Forever and Always, Last Kiss, Better Than Revenge, Mr. Fine and Perfect, Holy Ground.
I'm going to guess Tay-Tay.
Fearless. Hold on, we're not there yet.
Okay.
Lucas Till, You Belong With Me, Taylor Lautner, Back to December, Apologize, I Can See You, Speak Now, John Mayer, Dear John, Ours, Superman, The Story of Us, I Knew You Were Trouble, Would've, Coulda, Should've, Half of My Heart, Coney Island, Evermore, Corey Monteith, Mine, not an ex, but someone that this person had a crush on, Enchanted, Jake Gyllenhaal, this is the big one, We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, I Almost Do, State of Grace, All Too Well. Apparently there's a 10-minute long version of that song, which I literally today, this came up on one of my feeds. That she was like having a really tough time and just started playing, and her band, like they were doing a recording session and just kind of were riffing with her and playing the song, and at the end her mom was like, so you guys like got all that, right? And they're like, here are you, this is the CD of that. So yeah. Red, The Moment I Knew, Better Man, Babe, I Bet You Think About Me, other parts of Coney Island, Evermore Again. Okay, Connor Kennedy, Begin Again, Starlight, Harry Styles, out of the woods. I know places. Clean. Style. Question. Wonderful land. A little bit more Coney Island. Calvin Harris. I did something bad. Getaway car. Forget that you exist. Bejeweled. High infidelity. Coney Island. Evermore. Tom Hiddleston. Getaway car. Midnight Rain. I have no idea who this guy is. Joe Aline. Ready for it. Endgame. Dedicated. King of my heart. Dress. Call it what you want. New Year's Day. Lover. Cruel Summer. I think he knows. Paper Ring. Cornella Street. London Boy. And there's not been a confirmed song yet about the breakup with Matt Healy. However, Brett, we're talking about exes, and by far this woman is probably most famous for singing about her past relationships. And you know what I think is going to be her last boyfriend relationship?
I'm going to guess it's with a certain athletic tight end.
You would be right, Brett, because he has been put on the map by her. There's actually a person that did their costume was like her being Taylor Swift and her boyfriend or husband, I can't remember which one he is, but having a map and then her putting Travis Kelce's face on the map.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah. So I told Sarah, I'm like, I'm going to wait and not say a word about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. And then at the end, when I get to this deep dive, and the deep dives with this, thinking that you thought you could get 1 week without it. No, Brett, this is a reality. This is just part of our show now.
Every week, it's the Taylor Swift minute. You know, every time that Taylor Swift comes up, she gets her own chapter, and it's typically got your name attached to it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm ready for it. Doom, doom, doom.
Is that all of your deep dives?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about what we learned then.
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
What did we learn, Tyler?
Well, Brett, I learned something very simple this week.
Yes.
And that is sometimes you have to deliver bad news to people. And if you can do it with grace, and if you can tell it to them in a way that reminds them that they're doing all the things right now they're supposed to be doing, but just sometimes these bad things happen. You know, sometimes those can go really horribly, but also they can go well. And it's not up to us to decide how they go. All we can do is just give them the information that they need to have. And it's better to be honest sooner rather than later.
Indeed.
What'd you learn, Brett?
Well, I learned that if you broke up with someone, you really shouldn't do things like kiss your ex on the cheek if they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
But really, as a parent, you should really be always on guard for when your kids are going through a breakup, and just be ready to walk through it with them. Because it's going to be tough for them, especially if it's their first one. It's going to be rough on them. It's just, they're just going to need you to be there for them.
Yep.
And it might be as important as sharing about your own experiences, and it might be as important as just sitting with them. So that's what I learned this week.
Fair.
All right. So let's talk about...
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
What would you grade this episode?
I don't know yet. Can you go first?
Yeah. I am going to go with an A-. It was sitting at an A initially, but those moments with Topanga being out of character are rough to get through. It really is. There, if she was written more in character, if those sequences were sequences that weren't just shoehorned in and were more natural to the character, like we had talked about, this could very easily be an A+ episode. So I'm going to go with an A-.
That's fair. Gosh. Here's the thing. This episode is excellent. There's things in here that I really enjoy, but this is one of those episodes I avoid. Not because the episode is bad, but because I don't like the Topanga and Cory aren't together, but it's so important for their development. And so I can't really take it away just because for me personally, I don't like it when the two of them are not happy and those uncomfortable arguments you have to have. So I guess I'm going to have to go with a B+. Because again, I don't disagree with it. This could be easily an A+ episode. I mean, some of the one-liners are terrific, but, you know, this is just one of those that I think suffers from the fact that the breakup episode is the real after effect episode of the breakup, but then also like this is also part of the problem with having so many characters, especially adult characters right now. You can't really have the time with each of them to keep them developing. And also, it really bothers me with the whole Sean and his understanding of what dating actually is.
Mm-hmm.
It really bothers me. I can forgive Topanga as in she was acting in a way that was not natural for her because she was told that's what she's supposed to do, and she was, you know, allowing herself to be peer pressured into doing something she didn't want to. But Sean, I am very troubled with his understanding of dating.
Yeah.
And I also wonder of what Turner's influence is on this and if he'd be worse or better with him. I don't know. But I'm worried. So, Brett, I believe you owe me a dad joke.
I do. I've got two here I've been vacillating between. I'll go with this one. I just found out that ARG isn't a real word. I cannot express how angry I am.
Very nice.
And with that, good-looking people, that is our episode. Thanks for checking in with us and for sticking with us the whole episode. We're glad that you're here. We're still running our contest. 5 emails. Make us giggle. Make us laugh out loud. We'll read the best ones on air. And the best one will get a t-shirt.
Yep.
Send us your emails at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com. How many emails, Tyler?
We gotta have 5.
Gotta have 5. We'll pick the best one from the 5. You don't have to write 5, but we need 5.
Yeah.
And you can also follow us online at our social channels at dadsmeetworld, Twitter/X, Instagram. I'm never going to get used to calling it X.
Never
Facebook,
X.
and our brand new TikTok.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can stalk us there, or leave us messages. We like that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tyler. Until next week, I'll see you. Good looking.
Back to you. Good looking.
You know, how can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid?
Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios, tell your story. Alright, just let me find the right one here, because I deleted one and it reordered the whole thing, so...
Cool.
Maybe. Okay, let's just play one clip here to make sure it even works.
That's a good call.
What is the issue tonight with the soundboard?
I don't know. I've not heard a single thing from the soundboard.
It's not playing on my end either.
Nope. I heard
Okay, now we're playing one. Okay, I think we're okay now. Okay, let's try that again.